The space station floated in the darkness between two suns. Inside its massive conference hall, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for their annual meeting. The Apex Predator Survival Conference was a source of pride for many species. It was a chance to boast about the dangerous creatures from their home worlds and how they had survived them. Sat quietly at Earth's small table near the back of the hall. She wore a simple gray uniform with Earth's blue and green emblem on her shoulder. Her black hair was tied back in a practical bun, and her dark eyes watched everything with calm attention. She had studied alien life forms for years. She knew when to speak and when to listen. Today was a day for listening. The hall buzzed with conversations in dozens of languages. Universal translators built into the walls converted everything into understandable speech. The air smelled of various alien biochemistries, some sweet, some metallic, some unpleasant to human senses. Had gotten used to it over the years. At the center platform, a massive four-armed creature stood. This was a hunter priest. His thick purple skin was covered in ritual tattoos that glowed faintly. Each of his four arms was as thick as a human torso. He spoke with a deep voice that rumbled through the hall. "On we hunt the crystal beasts," announced proudly. "They stand 20 meters tall. Their bodies are harder than any metal. They live in gravity 3 times what most of you could survive. To kill one, must be perfect. One mistake means death." The crowd murmured with appreciation. Many heads nodded in respect. Next came a reptilian warrior. His scales were deep green with hints of blue, and they were covered in ceremonial scars. Each scar represented a hunt, a victory, a survival story. He walked to the platform with confident steps, his tail swishing behind him. "The beasts of prime spit acid that can melt through starship hull plating," said, his voice sharp and clear. "They hunt in packs of 50. They have 6 eyes that can see in total darkness. They can smell fear from 5 kilometers away. My people have survived them for 10,000 years. We wear our scars with honor." He gestured to his body, and the audience responded with cheers and approval. And Creature clicked her way to the platform. Thornback was a hive commander. Her exoskeleton was black and shiny, and her mandibles could cut through bone. When she spoke, her voice had a clicking quality that the translator struggled to process. "My species evolved alongside the swarm hives," Thornback said, "creatures that consumed entire continents, billions of them moving as one mind. They ate everything in their path. My ancestors learned to hide, to fight, to survive. We became hard. We became strong. We became worthy." The presentations continued for hours. Species after species shared stories of their deadly home worlds. Giant predators, toxic atmospheres, crushing gravity, radiation storms. Each delegate tried to prove their world was the most dangerous, their survival the most impressive. Took notes on her data tablet. She smiled slightly at some of the descriptions. Earth's database had files on many of these creatures. Some were genuinely impressive. Others were exaggerated for effect. She kept her thoughts to herself. During a break, approached her table. 2 other warriors followed him. They looked at with what seemed like amusement. "Human," said, his translator making the word sound dismissive. "You have been silent all day. Does Earth have no predators worth discussing?" Looked up at him calmly. He was nearly 3 meters tall, and his body was designed for combat. She was barely 165 centimeters and built like a scholar. The size difference was significant. "Earth has predators," she said simply. "Really?" Leaned closer. "I checked your database entries before coming here. I saw cats. Small furry creatures that humans keep in their homes for companionship. I saw dogs. Domesticated animals that follow you around. I saw wolves. Primitive pack hunters. And bears. Large but slow creatures." His companions made a hissing sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. "Yes, we have those," agreed. Her expression didn't change. "Is that all your world has to offer?" pressed, pets and simple animals, no acid breath, no armored hides, no swarm consciousness. We have other things too, said quietly. Like what? Snakes, spiders, sharks, crocodiles, jellyfish, ants. Accessed his data device. He scanned through the entries. His expression shifted to something like confusion. These are small, primitive, some lack basic intelligence. These are what you fear on Earth. I didn't say we feared them, replied. You asked what predators we have, I told you. Pathetic, one of the other warriors muttered. Smile grew slightly, but she said nothing more. She returned to her notes. Later that evening, the conference organizers made an announcement. They proposed a new competition, the Hunter's Challenge. Each species would face simulations of other species' apex predators. It would be a test of survival skills, adaptability, and courage. The winner would receive great honor. Many delegates accepted immediately. They saw it as another chance to prove their superiority. Was among the first to volunteer. He looked directly at as he registered. I propose we start with Earth predators, announced loudly, as a warm-up exercise, to show the human what real hunters look like. The crowd laughed. Several other species agreed it would be a good starting point. An easy first challenge before the real tests began. Simply nodded. She added her registration to the competition observer list. She would watch from the control room. She would take notes. She would learn. As the meeting ended and delegates returned to their quarters, walked slowly through the station's observation deck. Through the massive windows, she could see stars scattered across the darkness. Somewhere out there, too far to see, was a small blue planet. Earth. Her smile remained as she remembered something her old survival instructor used to say. He had been a tough man who had trained soldiers and scientists alike. Let them underestimate you, he had told her. People who underestimate Earth don't do it twice. Touched the window glass gently. Tomorrow would be interesting. The aliens wanted to face Earth's predators. They thought it would be easy. They thought they understood. They had no idea what Earth really was. She turned and walked back to her quarters, her footsteps silent on the metal floor. Behind her, the two suns continued their eternal dance, and the station floated on through the void. Tomorrow, the Hunter's Challenge would begin. Tomorrow, the galaxy would start to learn the truth about the small blue planet and the creatures that called it home. Was patient, she could wait one more day. The simulation chamber was enormous. It could create entire environments with perfect accuracy. Holographic technology combined with force fields made everything feel absolutely real. Pain was reduced to safe levels, but the experience was genuine. Predators could bite, claw, and attack. Participants could be injured enough to feel it without permanent damage. Sat in the control room with two other humans. Park was a military advisor who had joined Earth's delegation at the last minute. He was a solid man in his 40s with gray starting to show in his short hair. His face rarely showed emotion, but his eyes missed nothing. Next to him sat the captain of Earth's transport ship. She had short black hair and a permanent look of skepticism on her face. They really think this is a warm-up, said, shaking her head. They checked the database and saw house cats. The database gives biological facts, replied calmly. Weight, length, diet, habitat. It doesn't explain behavior. It doesn't explain hunting strategies. Should we warn them? Asked. Spoke without looking away from the screens. They wouldn't listen. Some lessons you have to learn yourself. Below them, through the observation window, the simulation arena prepared itself. Trees rose from the floor. Grass spread across the ground. A forest took shape, matching Earth's northern wilderness. The temperature dropped. A simulated sun provided filtered light through the canopy. And his hunting pack entered the arena. There were 4 warriors total. They wore light armor and carried energy weapons set to simulation mode. They moved with confidence, spreading out in a standard formation. They had hunted together for years. They knew each other's movements instinctively. Beginning scenario, the computer announced. Earth environment, North American forest. Predators, wolf pack, Bengal tiger, grizzly bear. Difficulty, standard. Duration, 2 hours. Laughed, his voice echoed in the control room through the speakers. 2 hours, will be done in 30 minutes. The simulation began. For the first 10 minutes, nothing happened. The warriors moved through the forest carefully. They scanned for threats. They checked their equipment. They communicated in quick, efficient hand signals. "Where are these wolves?" one of them asked. That's when saw it. On the thermal display, 8 shapes moved through the forest. They stayed low. They used the terrain. They were already surrounding the warriors. "They don't see them yet," observed. The wolves struck from 3 directions at once. They didn't charge stupidly. They tested the defenses. One wolf darted in, snapped at a warrior's leg, and retreated before the warrior could react. Another appeared from the left, drew weapons fire, and vanished into the brush. A third went for the pack's weak side. What spun around, trying to track multiple threats at once. The wolves didn't fight with honor or bravery. They fought smart. When they formed a tight circle, the wolves waited. When one warrior broke formation to chase a wolf, 3 others rushed in from behind. They targeted legs and arms. They went for weapons. They created confusion. Finally managed to shoot one wolf. It vanished in a shimmer of holographic light, but the pack didn't panic. They adapted. They changed tactics. They started using the terrain more carefully. "Impressive," admitted. "The simulation AI is really good." "That's not AI," said quietly. "That's wolf behavior, real pack tactics. This is exactly how they hunt on Earth. The simulation is just recreating it accurately." Nodded. Wolves have been perfecting these strategies for millions of years, against prey that was just as smart as sometimes smarter. It took the warriors 40 minutes to eliminate the wolf pack. They succeeded, but they were shaken. They had burns from energy weapons fire that had missed and hit trees. They had bite marks on their armor. They were breathing hard. "Difficulty was set to standard," one of them said. "That was standard." "Next predator incoming," the computer announced. The tiger appeared so suddenly that one warrior actually jumped. One moment there was empty forest. The next moment, 250 kilograms of simulated muscle and claws was right there. The tiger didn't charge, it waited. It watched, it stalked. "It's just sitting there," a warrior said nervously. "Shoot it," ordered. They fired. The tiger moved. It was impossibly fast. It flowed around their weapons fire like liquid. It used trees for cover. It circled them. It waited for the right moment. When it struck, it went for the smallest warrior. It hit him from the side, from a blind spot they didn't know existed. The warrior went down. The tiger's teeth went for the throat, stopped by armor, but the force field simulating the bite registered a kill. The warrior's armor flashed red. He was eliminated. The tiger retreated before the other 3 could respond. "How did it move like that?" one warrior asked. "Ambush predator," explained to her colleagues in the control room. "Tigers can wait for hours without moving. When they strike, they're faster than anything their size has a right to be. They've been hunting successfully for 2 million years." The remaining warriors managed to kill the tiger, but it cost them. Another warrior took injuries serious enough to impact his movement. Himself had a simulated broken arm. "Final predator," the computer said. The grizzly bear crashed through the trees like a living tank. It was 3 meters tall when it stood on its back legs. It weighed 600 kilograms. It roared, and the sound made the warriors step back involuntarily. "That's larger than our database indicated," said. "That's an average male," noted. The bear charged. They fired everything they had. Energy bolts hit the bear again and again. On a lighter creature, any one of those shots would have been fatal. The bear barely slowed. The simulation registered the damage, but the bear's thick hide, heavy bones and massive muscle mass absorbed punishment that would have killed smaller predators. It reached the warriors and swung one massive paw. A warrior flew backward 3 meters and hit a tree hard enough to register unconsciousness. Another warrior tried to dodge but wasn't fast enough. The bear caught him and simulated crushing him against its body. And the last warrior finally brought the bear down, but it took sustained fire and all their remaining energy. When the bear finally fell, both remaining warriors collapsed to their knees. Simulation complete, the computer announced. Time, 1 hour 53 minutes. Success achieved with 50% casualties. In the control room whistled softly. They barely made it. Against standard difficulty, added. And those weren't even apex predators, just large predators. Stood and prepared to head down to the debriefing area. Would have questions. He would want to know why the database hadn't prepared them properly. The database listed facts, she said again, but facts don't show you how a wolf thinks, how a tiger waits, how a bear just doesn't stop. You have to experience that to understand it. Down in the arena and his warriors were helped out by medical staff. They would be fine. Nothing was truly damaged, but they looked different now. The confidence was gone. The mockery was gone. They had the look that had seen before on people who had underestimated Earth. The look of someone who had just learned a very important lesson. As past the observation window, he looked up in Met's eyes. She smiled at him, not a mocking smile, a knowing smile, a smile that said, "Now you're beginning to understand." He didn't smile back. He just nodded slowly and continued to the medical bay. "Looked at, are you going to tell them?" "Tell them what?" "That those weren't apex predators. That Earth has things much worse than wolves and tigers and bears." Smile widened slightly. "They'll figure it out eventually, or they won't. Either way, they'll be more careful about underestimating planets they don't understand." The 3 humans left the control room. Tomorrow would give her presentation. Tomorrow, the real education would begin. The presentation chamber was filled with alien delegates. After yesterday's simulation, everyone wanted to hear what Earth's representative had to say. Stood at the central platform, a holographic display floating beside her. She wore the same simple gray uniform. Her expression was calm and professional. Sat in the front row with his hunting pack. They all had bandages from yesterday's simulation injuries. Even though the damage wasn't permanent, the medical staff had recommended rest. The warriors looked at with new eyes, eyes that actually saw her as someone worth listening to. "Thank you for coming," began. "Today I want to talk about Earth's ecosystem. I think there have been some misunderstandings." She touched her control tablet. The holographic display shifted to show Earth from space. The blue and green planet rotated slowly, white clouds swirling across its surface. "Earth is a Class 12 death world," said simply. The room went quiet. Class 12 was the highest danger rating in the galactic classification system. Only a handful of planets in known space rated that high. "That can't be right," Thornback clicked. "Humans are not heavily armored. You have no natural weapons, no venom, no acid. How do you survive a Class 12 world?" "That's what I'm here to explain," replied. She brought up new displays. They showed Earth's environmental data. High gravity compared to most habitable worlds. Extreme weather patterns. Temperature swings from -40 to +50 Celsius. Violent storms, earthquakes, volcanoes. "Earth is unstable," explained. "Our planet has liquid water, which is rare enough, but it also has plate tectonics, active geology, a strong magnetic field, a large moon that creates tides. All of this creates constant change, constant challenges." Lee, Earth's ecologist, stepped up to join. She was younger, with long black hair and enthusiastic energy. "Because of this instability," continued, "Earth developed extreme biodiversity. Life had to adapt constantly or die. This created competition, fierce competition. Predators competed with other predators. Prey became better at escaping. Everything pushed everything else to evolve faster and smarter. The holographic display showed a food web. It was incredibly complex, with hundreds of species connected by thousands of relationships. Most worlds have one or maybe two apex predators, explained. Earth has dozens. In different environments, different ecosystems, different niches, and they all compete. She showed images of orcas. The large black and white creatures move through ocean water with grace and power. Orcas are apex predators of the ocean, said. They hunt in family groups. They have language, they have culture. Different orcapods have different hunting techniques that they teach their children. They hunt sharks, seals, even whales larger than themselves. They coordinate attacks using complex communication. Or leaned forward in his seat. They have culture, true culture. Yes, confirmed. They pass down knowledge through generations, not through genetics, through teaching. They learn from each other. The display changed to show a crocodile. This is a crocodile, said. This species has existed for over 80 million years. It survived the extinction event that killed most large life on Earth. It has the strongest bite force of any living creature on our planet. It can hold its breath for over an hour. It can wait completely still for days, then explode into motion faster than most creatures can react. How do you survive alongside such creatures? Asked. We learned, said simply. We adapted. We evolved intelligence, social cooperation, and tool use. We learned to predict their behavior. We learned to avoid them or, when necessary, to kill them. She showed more images. Army ants swarming through jungle, Komodo dragons hunting in packs, poison dart frogs bright with warning colors, box jellyfish transparent and deadly in tropical waters. Earth has creatures that kill with venom, continued. Creatures that kill with disease, creatures that kill with overwhelming numbers, creatures that kill with patience, creatures that kill with speed. We have parasites that control other creatures' minds. We have fungi that turn insects into zombies. We have bacteria that can eat through metal. The alien delegates were silent. They stared at the displays with growing unease. But here's the important part, said, her voice growing serious. Humans are not Earth's apex predator. We never were. We evolved as prey. The room erupted in noise. Aliens spoke over each other, their translators struggling to keep up. Impossible, or rumbled. You conquered space. You built starships. How could prey species do this? Because we didn't stay prey, replied. We evolved. We learned. We made tools. We cooperated in larger groups than any other Earth species. We shared knowledge across generations. And slowly, over millions of years, we went from prey to competitor to apex predator. She showed images of early humans. Small, weak-looking creatures with basic tools. Our ancestors didn't have claws, said. They didn't have fangs or venom or armor. What they had was endurance. They could run longer than almost any other creature. They could throw rocks and spears with precision no other animal could match. They could make fire. They could plan. They could work together. And they hunted everything, added quietly. Humans didn't just survive Earth's predators. We hunted them. We tracked them. We learned their patterns. We killed them or drove them away from our territories. The predators you saw in yesterday's simulation, our ancestors hunted all of them. His crest flattened against his skull. This was a sign of deep concern. The wolves that nearly defeated my hunting pack, he said slowly. You hunted them. We did more than hunt them, replied. We domesticated them. Wolves became dogs. We turned our competitors into our companions. We did the same with cats, with horses, with dozens of other species. The creatures that should have been our enemies became our tools, our partners, our friends. She paused, letting that sink in. Do you understand what that means? Asked. We looked at apex predators, creatures designed by millions of years of evolution to kill, and we said, I want one of those. And we made it happen. The display showed a human child playing with a large dog. The dog was clearly descended from wolves. It was playing gently with the small human, protective and loyal. That's why your database didn't prepare you, explained. It listed the animals. It gave you sizes and weights, but it didn't tell you how they think, how they hunt, how they survive, and it didn't tell you that humans learn to outthink every single one of them. Thornback's mandibles clicked nervously. What happened to the predators that didn't become domesticated? His expression grew sad. Many went extinct, not all because of humans, but many. We hunted them for food. We hunted them for safety. We hunted them for sport. Before we understood the value of biodiversity, before we learned to control our impact, we drove many species to extinction. That's terrible, someone said. Yes, agreed. It is. We carry that shame. That's why we protect endangered species now. Why we work to preserve what's left. We learned, but the lesson cost us greatly, and it cost the creatures of Earth even more. The chamber was quiet. The delegates looked at the humans with new understanding, not just as weak creatures from a distant world, but as apex predators who had learned to control their own nature. Tomorrow, said, we'll run another simulation, but this time we'll show you what a human can do in Earth's environment. We'll show you what it really means to be from a Class 12 death world. She ended the presentation. The delegates filed out slowly, talking in hushed voices. Their earlier confidence was gone. They were beginning to understand. Earth wasn't just another planet, and humans weren't just another species. They were survivors of something truly deadly. The simulation chamber had been reconfigured overnight. This time, the environment would be more complex, more realistic, more dangerous. The safety limiters had been reduced as much as regulations allowed. This would feel real in ways the previous simulation had not. Stood in the control room with her colleagues. Was there again, along with two new humans. Was a Special Forces soldier who had volunteered to demonstrate human capabilities. He was lean and muscular, with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor. Next to him stood Nam, a survivalist and tracker who had spent most of his life in Earth's wilderness areas. They insisted on the rematch, said from her station. 6 different species are sending their best hunters. They want to prove yesterday was just bad luck. It wasn't bad luck, said quietly. It was arrogance. They thought knowing facts meant understanding reality. Those are very different things. Below them, the arena transformed into an Earth jungle. This was based on the Amazon rainforest, one of Earth's most biodiverse and dangerous environments. The air became humid and hot. Plants grew thick and tangled. Water dripped from leaves. Insects buzzed through the air. The alien hunting party entered. There were 12 of them this time, 3 including 4 representatives from other species. They were armed with the best simulation weapons. They wore advanced armor. They had prepared carefully. Beginning full ecosystem simulation, the computer announced. Earth environment, tropical rainforest. Duration, 12 hours. All native life forms active. Survival conditions, realistic. The simulation began. For the first hour, things seemed manageable. The aliens moved carefully through the jungle. They watched for large predators. They stayed alert. They used their sensors to scan for threats. Then the mosquitoes found them. The insects were tiny, but there were millions of them. They swarmed around the aliens, biting any exposed skin. The simulation made the bites itch and burn. The mosquitoes carried simulated diseases that would weaken the aliens over time. These are just insects, one complained, swatting at the cloud around his head. Mosquitoes kill more humans than any other creature on Earth, said quietly in the control room. Not through strength or venom, through disease, malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, hundreds of others. The aliens tried to continue, but the constant buzzing and biting wore on their nerves. They couldn't focus properly. Their movements became irritated and less careful. That's when the jaguar struck. It came from above, dropping from a tree branch. It landed on a warrior and dragged her upward into the canopy before anyone could react. The warrior's scream cut off suddenly. Her status monitor went red. "One down," observed. "The jaguar won't come back for hours. It's eating its kill." The remaining aliens bunched together, weapons pointing in all directions. They were no longer moving confidently. They were scared. A snake dropped from another branch. It was a furry-lance, highly venomous. It bit a warrior on the arm. The warrior killed the snake instantly, but the simulated venom was already spreading. Within minutes, he was weakening. Within 30 minutes, he had to be extracted. Army ants appeared next. Millions of them flowing across the forest floor like a living carpet. Everything in their path fled or died. The aliens ran, breaking formation, separating. When they finally escaped the ant column, they had lost 2 more team members who hadn't been fast enough. "This is impossible," gasped. He was covered in simulated insect bites. His armor was torn from pushing through dense vegetation. "How does anything survive here?" "By adapting," answered, though he couldn't hear her. "By learning, by respecting the danger." The hours dragged on. The aliens faced poison dart frogs that they almost stepped on, spider webs strong enough to trap them, plants with thorns that injected toxins, water that contained parasites, heat that exhausted them, humidity that made breathing difficult. At the 4-hour mark, only 5 aliens remained active. At 6 hours, only one were still functioning. At 7 hours and 32 minutes, the simulation automatically ended. Both remaining aliens collapsed from exhaustion and accumulated injuries. "Simulation failed," the computer announced. "Survival rate 0% after projected 12 hours. Medical teams rushed in to help the aliens. They would recover, but they looked broken in a way that had nothing to do with physical injuries. They had faced Earth and lost badly. "Our turn," said simply. He entered the arena alone. He wore basic clothing, lightweight pants, a shirt, and boots. He carried a simple knife and a small pack. No armor, no energy weapons, no advanced technology. "Solo entry," asked from his medical stretcher. "That's suicide." Activated the communication system. "We've extended the simulation to 36 hours for this demonstration. Same environment, same difficulty. Watch and learn." The simulation began again. Fresh jungle, same dangers, same heat and humidity and insects. Moved differently than the aliens had. He didn't fight the jungle. He moved with it. When mosquitoes swarmed, he found plants whose leaves repelled them and rubbed the oils on his skin. When he needed water, he found vines that held it. When he needed shelter, he built it from available materials in less than an hour. "He's not hunting the predators," explained to the watching aliens. "He's avoiding them. Why fight when you can hide? Why kill when you can escape? Humans learn to conserve energy, to survive, not to prove ourselves." Set simple traps for small animals. He caught fish from a stream using a trap made from sticks. He started a fire using friction and dry materials. He cooked his food. He purified his water. When a jaguar appeared, didn't run or fight. He stood still, made himself look larger, and spoke in a calm, firm voice. The jaguar watched him for several minutes, then left. It didn't see him as prey or threat, just another part of the jungle. When he encountered poisonous snakes, he went around them. When army ants appeared, he tracked their movement and stayed ahead of them. When night fell, he was already in his shelter, elevated off the ground, with a fire burning to keep predators away. The aliens watched in silence. Hour after hour survived with minimal effort. He didn't struggle. He didn't panic. He existed in the jungle as if he belonged there. "This is impossible," or whispered. "He has no weapons, no armor." "He has something better," replied. "Knowledge, experience. Millions of years of human evolution teaching him how to survive. Every human learns these basics. We call it camping." At the 12-hour mark had built a better shelter. He had a supply of food. He had fresh water. He was comfortable. At 24 hours he had explored the area. He knew where predators hunted. He knew where to find resources. He had even crafted better tools from materials he found. At 36 hours, when the simulation ended, was actually resting. He had eaten a cooked meal. He was hydrated. He was uninjured. He walked out of the simulation chamber looking tired but healthy. The alien delegates stared at him like he was some kind of miracle. Hal finally asked, "How did you make it look easy?" Shrugged, "It's not easy. Earth is never easy, but humans have been surviving there for millions of years. We learned what works. We passed that knowledge down. Every human child learns basic survival skills. It's part of our education." "We trained for weeks," a delegate said. "We studied the database. We prepared." "You studied facts," said gently. "Lived it. There's a difference. You can't learn Earth from a database. You have to experience it, feel it, respect it." The Council of Apex Species, who had been observing everything, requested a private meeting with the human delegation. They looked at, and the others with new eyes. "We need to reclassify Earth," the council leader said, "and we need to understand humans better. This demonstration has shown us we were wrong about many things." Nodded, "We're willing to share our knowledge, but you need to understand something first. We're not special. We're not superior. We're just survivors. Earth made us what we are. We paid for our survival with millions of years of fear, struggle, and adaptation." "And now?" the council leader asked. "Now we're here," replied. "Among the stars, still learning, still adapting, still surviving. It's what we do best." The meeting ended. The aliens dispersed, talking quietly among themselves. The competition was over, but the real learning had just begun. Tomorrow would give her final presentation. Tomorrow, she would explain what it truly meant to be human. The diplomatic conference hall was full again, but the atmosphere had changed completely. The aliens no longer sat with casual confidence. They watched the human delegation with careful attention and something that looked like respect. Stood at the central platform for her final presentation. Beside her stood Earth's ambassador and historian. Was in her 50s with gray streaking through her black hair and lines around her eyes from years of negotiation and diplomacy. On the other side was O, a physician specializing in comparative biology. "Thank you all for staying," began. "Today we want to help you understand humanity, not as warriors or survivors, but as a species, as people." The holographic display showed images of early humans. Small groups huddled around fires, hunting together, building shelters, caring for their young and old. "Humans evolved as social creatures," explained. "We survived not because we were strong individually, but because we worked together. A single human against a lion loses. 10 humans with spears and coordination win. We learned this early." She showed images of early human tools, simple stone blades, wooden spears, basic fire-starting equipment. "We couldn't outrun most predators," continued. "We couldn't outfight them, so we learned to outthink them. We made tools, we made weapons, we used our environment, we planned ahead." Stepped forward to discuss human biology. "Human bodies are built for endurance," he said. "We're not fast sprinters like many predators, but we can run for hours. We can walk all day. We sweat to cool ourselves, which most animals cannot do. This meant we could chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We call it persistence hunting." He showed scans of human anatomy, the long legs, the efficient cooling system, the skeletal structure designed for distance rather than speed. "We also heal remarkably well," added. "Human bodies can recover from injuries that would kill many species. We have strong immune systems. We can adapt to different climates, different foods, different environments. We're generalists. We survive anywhere." "But our real advantage is here," said, pointing to images of the human brain. We have pattern recognition abilities that surpass almost any other species. We see connections. We predict outcomes. We plan for futures that haven't happened yet. We imagine. She showed images of human art, cave paintings from thousands of years ago, stories told around fires, knowledge passed down through generations. We don't just survive, said quietly. We learn, we teach, we remember. A human who survives a dangerous situation tells others about it. They learn from someone else's experience. Knowledge builds on knowledge across thousands of generations. Stood from his seat. His crest was neutral, a sign of genuine curiosity rather than challenge. I have a question, he said. If humans are so good at surviving, why do you seem so peaceful? Why aren't you conquering the galaxy? Smiled sadly, because we learned another lesson, a harder one. She changed the display to show human history. Wars, destruction, cities burning, weapons that could destroy entire planets. We didn't just hunt Earth's predators, said. We hunted each other. For thousands of years, humanity's greatest threat was other humans. We had wars that killed millions. We created weapons designed specifically to kill our own species. We were very, very good at it. The room was silent. What changed, or asked? We almost destroyed ourselves, answered from his seat. We created weapons powerful enough to make Earth uninhabitable. We stood on the edge of extinction, and we realized that our greatest strength, our ability to fight and survive, had become our greatest weakness. Nodded, we chose to change. It wasn't easy. It took generations. But we learned to direct our competitive nature toward cooperation instead of conflict. We learned that surviving together was better than fighting alone. But you haven't forgotten how to fight, Thornback observed. No, agreed. We haven't and we won't. Earth taught us that danger is always present, that predators exist, that survival requires vigilance. But we choose when to fight and when to cooperate. That choice is what makes us human. Brought up new displays showing modern humans, scientists, artists, engineers, teachers, families. This is what we are now, he said. We're still the survivors from Earth. We still have the instincts, the drive, the ability to hunt and fight, but we've added something else. Compassion, creativity, the desire to explore rather than conquer. We're contradictions, added. We're apex predators who write poetry. We're survivors who create art. We're capable of terrible violence and incredible kindness. Earth made us complex because Earth itself is complex. An alien delegate from a species didn't recognize spoke up. Why are you telling us all this? Wouldn't it be better to seem more dangerous, more threatening? No, replied firmly, because we don't want to be feared. We want to be understood. Yes, we come from a dangerous world. Yes, we're capable of defending ourselves. But we came to the stars to explore, to learn, to share. We came to make friends, not enemies. She gestured to all the assembled aliens. You boasted about surviving your world's predators. That's understandable. That's worthy of pride. But you thought survival made you superior. We're here to say that survival is just the beginning. What you do after survival is what matters. The Council of Apex Species Leaders stood. We have made a decision. Earth will be officially classified as a Class 12 death world. Humans will be recognized as an apex-tier species with all the rights and protections that entails. Furthermore, we would like to invite Earth to join the Council itself. The room erupted in noise. This was unprecedented. Species had to apply for Council membership and wait decades for approval. Bowed slightly. We're honored. We'll need to discuss this with our government, but I believe Earth would be proud to participate. The formal meeting ended. Delegates began to leave, but many approached the human delegation to talk personally, to ask questions, to express respect. Approached last. He stood before her, his crest raised in what she had learned was a gesture of respect among his people. I boasted about surviving my world's predators, he said quietly. I was proud. I thought it made me strong. It does make you strong, replied. Survival is worthy of pride. But you smiled, continued. When I boasted, you smiled because you knew something I didn't. I smiled because I understood, said. I understood the pride of survival, but I also understood the cost. Earth taught us that being the strongest predator comes with a price. The responsibility, the burden, the knowledge of what we're capable of. What cost? Asked. Looked out through the observation window. Earth was visible in the distance, a small blue dot among the stars. The cost of knowing we drove species to extinction, she said softly. The cost of knowing we fought ourselves for thousands of years. The cost of knowing that our survival came at the expense of countless other lives. We're proud of what we survived, but we're also ashamed of what we did to survive. She turned back to, you were proud of surviving your world's predators. We're proud too, but we're also aware that we became predators ourselves. Apex predators of an apex predator world. That's not just strength, it's responsibility. Was quiet for a long moment. I think I understand now. You smiled not because you were mocking us. You smiled because you recognized the journey, the path from pride to understanding. Exactly, said. You're at the beginning of that path. You proved you could survive. Now you get to decide what kind of species you want to be. Conquerors or cooperators, isolated or integrated. That choice is yours. What did humans choose? Asked. We're still choosing, replied. Every day, every decision. We chose to come to the stars. We chose to share instead of dominate. We chose to learn from you as much as teach you. But the choice is never final. We have to keep making it. Extended his arm in the gesture of friendship. Took it without hesitation. Thank you, he said, for the lesson, for the honesty, for the understanding. Thank you for listening, replied. Not every species would. As Left approached, that went well. It did, agreed. They understand us better now, and we understand them better too. Do you think they'll remember, asked, the lesson about Earth? Smiled, the same small smile she had worn when this all began. They'll remember. Earth has a way of making impressions that last. The predators of Earth made us what we are. Now we get to show the galaxy what that means. They stood together at the observation window looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth rotated on its axis. Life continued. Predators hunted. Prey fled. Humans lived and learned and grew. Earth had made humanity into survivors, but humanity had chosen what kind of survivors to be. That choice, more than any predator or any danger, was what defined them. Touched the window gently, the same gesture she had made days ago. The predators of Earth taught us to survive. Now it's our turn to teach the galaxy that survival is just the beginning. What comes after is what truly matters. The stars shone bright in the darkness, and humanity stood among them. Not as conquerors, not as predators, but as survivors who had learned to be something more. The conference was over. The understanding was just beginning.